Okay, so in the last video we learned a little bit about some of the basic mathematical operations you can do on numbers. And now I want to dive into just a few more complex topics, or complex operations really. So let's go back to our numbers that we defined. So we'll have int number A equals, we'll do 4, and semicolon, int number B equals, and we want that to be equal to 2. And so one of the things that we can do is what's called an absolute value function. And so let's just do, we'll have var, I'll do int number C, int number C equals 2 minus 4. Or actually, I'll do number C, number B minus number A. And so, as you can expect, this will probably come out with a -2, right? So we'll do, paste it in, enter the code again, and we'll have -2. All right, so let's just say if we want to have this be an absolute value, just like it works out in basic algebra or arithmetical, say that quickly, operations. So what we can do is use the math library. There's all kinds of different functions out there for this, but the standard ones would be like in the .NET math library. So the math.abs, and that stands for absolute. So if you look down here, it returns the absolute value of a decimal number. And of course, you have to cast it into a, or decimal, excuse me, into decimal. And let me see if there is a absolute int. Let's see one. So we'll go right now and use abs. It probably exists, but without wasting time looking for it, let's do this. So if we do math to absolute value number C, as we could expect, we'll come out with a 2. Pretty basic. There's a few more interesting things you can do with this. So let's go ahead and just put this back to number C. We'll talk about the modulo operator for a moment. And so a modulo operator is a percentage sign. So you do number A, percentage number B. And what it will do is it will return such a the remainder of a division operation. So if we do this, so we'll do number A divided by, so we'll do modulo number B. And so what will happen here is we'll divide the two numbers. Anything that's left over, it will assign to number C as the modulo. So we'll go ahead and hit the enter the code button. And so we know that 2 divides into 4 cleanly, we're not going to get anything back. Now if we were to change number B to 3 and to run it, we'll get a 1 back. And there's quite a number of useful things you can do with the modulo. Think about this, for example. We have like 3 classrooms, each of which will hold 30 students, right? And so we want to find out, like, if we need to start a 4th classroom, for example. So we can do, 90 divided by 3, actually be 90 modulo 3, and whatever's left over, or excuse me, not 90, but like whatever our total number of students is, modulo 3 for our 3 classrooms, that'll be the remainder of students we have left, right? Left, right, it's really bad. And that's one example, and in the projects that we'll be working on, there'll probably be some things that come up like that. Modulo is also kind of good for like just doing a quick, see if the number is even or odd. If you're trying to write some mathematical algorithms, like there's some fun applications for this too, actually. And I'll tell a little bit of story about myself. When I was at college, my math skills were horrible. It's one of those things I never really grasped. And so I had to take remedial math of all things. And I was able to pick it up pretty quickly because I bought like a couple basic algebra books and studied over the summer before I went back to college. And I was able to write like just in basic programs in C++ that would do some of the basic work that I didn't really want to take the time to do, like find the least common denominator and stuff like that. And you can use things like modulo in doing that. It's kind of an example too of like a good programming exercise. So it's kind of like doing math and programming at the same time. But anyway, so we have modulo. Do a couple more things here. So let's say we'll do so number 3. Actually, I'll show you the odd even test right there. So just briefly, we're talking about that. So we'll do number. Actually, we'll do this right here. So number A. So number A modulo 2. And you'll see right there we come up with a 1. There's a whole lot of different math functions. Let's run down a couple of these right here. So we'll do math dot. We can get a cube root of something, and so we'll do square root. So we'll do math dot square root of number A, and let's see. We'll assign this to number C. And we're getting a squiggly here. So cannot convert type of one. Okay. So this is going to give us a double. Squares considered double. So we'll just do that. And that came out the 1.7 right there. Actually, let me leave that for a second there. So you can see right here, this is a long double value. And this would be a good chance just to set the decimal value. So let's do, we'll cast this as decimal data type. Say, okay, so it's decimal to double. This in here. Oh, okay, so I need to find this as a decimal over here as well. And we'll take this off. Yeah, it doesn't like that, so okay, let's do decimal, or we can actually do let's do var. Okay, let's try to see what we come out with. Okay, so that's the same thing. That's going to be double on that side. All right, let's see. Yeah, forgive me. It's been a long day of coding, actually studying other people's code, and so sometimes it all just runs together. So we'll see how there will be decimal now. That's a allowable cast. And so still coming up with the same number. There's different ways to truncate that. Trying to think if I want to get into that now, and I think we'll just save that for later. So let's go ahead and just look at a couple of other operators. So we'll do math dot division remainder, cube root, square root, sine. If you're doing trig, see two decimal numbers, absolute, which you already know. So basically, most of the common mathematical operations you might find like on a scientific calculator you can find here, along with some additional stuff. Clamp always just sounds really good. So you can look through these again most of the time, unless you're doing like really high level mathematical calculations, like a scientific application or game development, stuff like that. You may not need most of these. Okay, so that's basically just an introduction to some of the math functions, and also how like the modulo operator works. And again, some of this might be less commonly used, but I think it's good to have the context around it. And so what we've learned here is both a combination of some of the basic things you can do with integers and some of the little bit more complex things that you can do. And so I think this probably wraps up what we'll talk about with numeric variables for the moment. Again, there will be things that will come up, in our projects, and we'll, kind of get to those, explain those when we get there. And so just as a little teaser, the next lesson coming up is going to be over what's called the Boolean. And this is basically just a variable that's true or false. But Booleans are one of the things you use frequently. So I want to explain a few things about that. Until the next video.